I mean, staying with the travel, as you've gone across the continent, has there been a moment, or at which moment did you say to yourself, Africa is not a good investment, it's a great investment, and I feel validated by the decision that I took so long ago? Has there been any experience?
Look, I think it's I give you a couple different experiences. I think one is just around natural resources.
Right.
You know, in other words, I know what can happen in Mozambique because I've seen Brazil.
Okay.
You know, in other words, I know what can happen in Nigeria because I've seen Brazil. Mm-hmm. So I've seen places that are 5 or 10 years ahead, and you can say, hey, if we steer the ship this way, this can go. So you have these moments where you have a flash of, I've been in this conversation before, except it was in Beijing 10 years ago or something like that. So I've had a number of those around resources. Then I'd say around the talent of the team. So the first time I came to Africa, really, everybody lived in Dubai. You know, one of the most dangerous things you can ask when you're a CEO is, where do you live? So you show up in Lagos and you're sitting with a room full of 20 GE people, and not one of them lives in Nigeria. You might have a handful in South Africa, and everybody else lives in Dubai. You say, hey guys, this is not going to last. We're going to get everybody here. Now I come, and I've been coming enough to Nigeria, is, you know, I know people's first name. I remember what they did last year. I see them stand tall. I see them with their own ideas, their own ownership of the company, and I love that. So I've been able to see the power of the team. And the third thing is, look, here in Nigeria, you know, I always try to be realistic about everything. I wouldn't have given you one chance that they would have gotten the power reform done last year. You know, maybe 1 in 10. Okay. They got it done. You know, so they got it done. It took risks. So you see, I think the incredible, you know, because I always know what we can do as a company, you know, and what I can control as a leader. But I think it's always rewarding to see people that want to help themselves, that are willing to drive change, that want to help themselves. You don't see that everywhere, but you can see it. Now, I also see things that concern me. You know, when you're in a country like Ethiopia, which I think is an interesting place to invest, and they're graduating 4,000 engineers every year, and maybe 10% of them have jobs. That's not a good formula, you know? In other words, so you see things that say, okay, we better figure out how to help somebody in that endeavor, or else that's gonna, you know, that's unsustainable. Sure. So every time I get smarter about the things I like, but also I see where the next challenges are at the same time.
I mean, you make the case very...
I thought you looked good myself.
All right, there we go. Thanks. I mean, you make the case well about, you know, how essential Africa is. Can you sort of, if we can go a bit more granular into, you know, what does, I mean, at the global level, what does Nigeria, Ghana, Mozambique, Angola, Kenya mean in terms of sales and revenues and products and sectors at the global level?
For a company like GE?
Yes.
Oh, look, I mean, I think you know, the resource-rich market, if you just take the industrial piece, you know, the resource-rich markets are a third of our revenue. They might have been 10% a decade ago. And I think you're talking about countries that ought to be able to grow 20% a year if we do well. Yeah. So, you know, some starting off a smaller base than others. But look, if we do our job, we could do $1 billion a year in Mozambique, more than that in Angola, and much more than that in Nigeria. Now, I'm a globalist, but I'm not sure I could have found Mozambique on a map 6 years ago.
Right.
You know, I mean, I knew vaguely where it was, but that's the, you know, that's the difference. These are meaningful countries in a meaningful resource base, and it's going to happen right before our eyes.
Doing business in Africa, you can't afford to be without Africa Investor.